Peter Thomas Fornatal back with you to talk about this year's Kentucky Derby. Basically, the question seems to be to fierceness or not to fierceness. If you're going to fierceness, I'm going to fierceness. The question is, how can we bet this favorite in the smartest way? Should we keep it simple? Should we stick with a win bet? Or is there something more clever we might be able to bring into the mix? I've talked about the idea of maybe looking into the Preakness future wager as one attempt. Hey, if he's going to win by 3, he's going to probably come back to Baltimore and be 3-5. If we can lock in 3-1 in that future wager, maybe that's the way to go. But maybe there's something even better than that that'll get the job done. And to help us answer the question, we bring in a man who is known for his betting acumen. Quite specifically, he is a Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge champion. He's also the author of a new book called A Bettor Way of Thinking. We'll show you a little bit more about that later in the piece. But first, let's welcome in Matt Miller. Matt, how are things?
It's been one of the better days of my life, if I'm being honest. Getting published as an author is a great feeling. For anyone that thinks about doing this one day, highly recommend it. It's been a great joy.
I love hearing that. I absolutely love hearing that. Let's talk about this race before we get into sort of the answer to the question that I posed at the beginning here. You're in an interesting position in this race in that you're part of a future wager on Sierra Leone. You and Howard Kravitz and the HHH Racing podcast crew have this terrific position. So obviously, you're a man of split loyalties here. But, how do you reconcile when you're sitting on a big payoff in a future bet with how you approach it on the day? How does that change things?
Well, for starters, I'm hoping none of them are watching this.
How do you say that?
Well, look, we have a certain group loyalty around this horse where, it's almost sacrilegious to say something not complimentary or to compliment another horse too much. We've had this incredible ride for 6 months. Basically, every step has gone correctly, knocking on wood. And it's been amazing fun for not a large investment. Okay, all of a sudden, this became very, very real for a lot of money. And okay, look, something I'm not sure I would say to Howard and crew directly, although they're watching, I know they are. Up until a month ago, I wouldn't have traded the name on this ticket for anything. I honestly believed every step of the way we were on the most likely horse to win the Derby. It was only the Florida Derby and Fierceness's performance in there that I admit, if I could change the name on the ticket now, I would. Okay, that being said, we are alive to a phenomenal horse who has a massive chance. It's not like this is some crazy long shot who just barely got into the field. And so I'm in this luxury position of feeling like I'm covered to the main threat already. So without having to be thinking about hedging or whatnot, I'm just going to approach this race as betting it for what it is. And for what it is, this seems to be a race with a favorite that is pretty dominant on figures, doesn't seem to need the lead no matter what. And I think, in a 20-horse race, there are plenty of ways to get good value. I'm not too worried about the price. So yes, I am, to answer your question, to fierceness. Yes, I am to fierceness.
I wanted to show the book jacket here for a minute because one of the things you talk about in this book is the best ways to extract value out of your opinions. You hear it all the time at the racetrack, Matt. I'm a great handicapper. I'm a good handicapper, but I'm a terrible bettor. I feel like, having had the pleasure of working with you on this book, that this is a book for all the people who say that has a real opportunity to step up their game on the betting side. What do you think when you hear people say that in the track? When you hear that the old saw, I'm a good handicapper, but I'm a terrible bettor. What goes through your mind when you hear that?
I've never been able to relate because for me it's been the opposite. I've never been as good at the handicapping as at the betting and at the odds and the probabilities and things. And so I just recognize everybody comes there with their own sets of strengths and weaknesses. One thing I point out in the book with a lot of transparency and honesty is I'm aware of what my weaknesses are. I'm also proud of what I've done to plug them. So I'm not perfect. I'm not good at everything. Certainly on the handicapping side, look, I know who I'm talking to in this conversation. You, Jonathan, Nick, the ITM crew, Drew. I'll extend it to Howard as well and that team. I'm friends with some great handicappers who do a much better job at this than I do. It allows me to save my time and energy and focus on kind of handicapping the handicapper. I get my picks, in weird ways that way, but it's how I bet them where I've become effective. And yeah, this book is not a handicapping book. You can come up with your own opinions, with your own strategies for how you pick your horses. This is the hard part about what to do next.
The book is available now. There's a link to buy it right in the description of this video. So you can go there and hit that. You can also go to abettorwayofthinking.com. You can spell it either way, but in the title, it's Bettor, Bettor. We did get both URLs, but I can't recommend it enough. As I've said, and I'm not joking, Matt, when I say this, the thing that makes me depressed about reading this book is if I'd read it 20 years ago, I'd have a lot more money than I do today. Now, we're going to get into the particulars of the book a lot more. We'll have a long interview once we get through Derby. This video, obviously, all about the Derby and all about Fierceness. You see the career slide up there that we had created. I'll zoom out a little bit so we can see the horse a little bit better out of respect. Good stuff. You see Fierceness there on your screen. But now it's time to get to the key question of this video. What's the best way to bet Fierceness and make money? I put forth a couple of my ideas. I think the win pool might represent good value. I think one wise guy sneaky thing is maybe that Preakness future wager. But I have a feeling I'm going to learn something when I ask. I see you shaking your head. I have a feeling I'm gonna learn something when I hear you talk about what makes the most sense. How would you try to extract value out of Fierceness in this year's Kentucky Derby?
If I was playing that future wager, I'd probably bet on NISO still. So
he still hasn't worked, so you don't bet him. Don't bet him.
So
yeah, maybe Muth. The same idea with Muth, but yeah, I hear where you're going with that.
So yeah, for me, that's way too much risk relative to the reward involved. It's way out of whack. Look, this isn't intended to walk everyone directly through the book, but we start in this book with what are your goals and what are your opinions? And so when you say how to bet Fierceness, and I don't really mean this as a question back, it's more just for introspection to everybody. What is your opinion? Is your opinion is that Fierceness is going to win? Do you have others in the race that you think necessarily will go with Fierceness winning? I would just encourage you not to conflate different opinions. Try to keep things simple. If you want to bet the race, you don't have to win the race by hitting the exacta or the trifecta. And if you don't have much of an opinion on who gets second or third, in this particular race, I don't, for example, as much as I love Sierra Leone, if the horse doesn't win, I'm not sure where he will be. What will it have been? Traffic trouble that got him in trouble, and so second or third isn't likely either. I don't want to confuse betting Fierceness with traffic issues or other things with other horses. So for me, I don't want to wait until the win pool. I don't know if Mattress Mac is going to dump $1 million into it on the favorite or not. I don't want to risk, at 2-1, a 0.5 difference is a 25%. I'm doing that math exactly wrong. Whatever. It's hysterical. It's better in the book, trust me. But the point is, these are meaningful percentage changes when you're looking at a difference between 2-1 and 2.5-1. My favorite play for this weekend is to focus on that Oaks Derby double. Lots of reasons for that. The big one being money management. You know you're going to play the Derby on Saturday. You know that on Friday. And so you might as well get as much leverage as you can out of your play on Friday. And if you manage to hit the Oaks with some of your Friday budget, your entire Saturday will change. You're going to be alive to a nice will pay, presumably. You can decide to press up. You can decide to bet less. You can decide to hedge. But having that will pay will give you all sorts of good options. I've taken a look at the futures pool already. I'm sorry, the probables already. Even with the couple of favorites, those probables look fantastic. I think they were 13 and 15 to 1 with the two favorites the last I looked. And so that's where I'd be going.
In terms of the specifics of horses you'd use, would you lean towards, you mentioned the two favorites. I don't even know right now if that's, I mean, Tarifa is going to be one of those two. After Tarifa, I don't know if that's going to be Torpedo Anna or Just FYI or Ways and Means or Leslie's Rose. Could you get away with playing all of those horses, or do you think you have to dial down in the double and pick one or two of those combinations?
Again, as I say in the book, I don't play to hit tickets. I play to make money. And so at some point, getting too spready is a problem. My personal plan is Torpedo Anna and who was the other one I'm playing? Not Tarifa. Who was the fourth horse again?
Just FYI
Just
or Ways
FYI.
and Means.
So those are the two I'm going to be playing directly into Fierceness. And I'm just fading the other two. I don't have as strong an opinion on them. And honestly, if you add the two of them, just do the math. You've doubled the cost of your bets, assuming you're betting equally in equal amounts, and you're halving your odds. And I'm prepared to lose the race on Friday and enter Saturday cold if I have to. But my plan is to get alive to some pretty big will pays if one of those two horses wins, and hopefully to sit back and just kind of relax on Saturday without having to bet too much.
I love the idea, Matt. Love this quick catch up with you. We got to show the book, A Bettor Way of Thinking. You can find the link to buy right in the description, or you can go over to abettorwayofthinking.com and see some of the wonderful advanced praise you've gotten for this book. You did a tremendous job. Proud to be a part of it. Really appreciate you coming on here today.
Thank you so much. And for your viewing audience, I'm going to say this ad nauseum. This guy's a gem. The talent level's off the charts. He's entertaining, he's fun, all that stuff. As a writer, I found a whole new layer of talent with him. So Pete, it's been terrific going on the ride with you, and it's been great having an even better friend at the end of this.
Well, it was a great project and a great process, and I'm just psyched to see what comes next. abettorwayofthinking.com. Find the link to buy in the description. Check out the rest of the In the Money Media channel for a lot more Kentucky Derby coverage. Make sure that you subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of it. If you want even more, In the Money Plus. Matt was one of the first 5 people that signed up for In the Money Plus. We'll talk about that on some other video, but inthemoneypodcast.com/plus if you want to find out what that's all about. And with that all said, and with the horses we know we're going to be rooting for, we'll just leave it with the clothesline. May you win all your Kentucky Derby photos.